Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And today we're going to be taking a look at the free-to-play Tales of COLLAB Alphen the Iron Mask. So this is our first dedicated free-to-play DPS character, which is both interesting and concerning. Maybe that means that we're not going to get a single target DPS for the Tales of COLLAB, and we're just going to have the Ch29 and this Alphen and then two support alts. Potentially, I don't know. But he is fire and magic on World of Fantasy Prosper and the free-to-play flashback beatdown emissary. He has his own gear, which as you can see is not quite done. I did enchant him, but these are just two rainbow attack buffs, like they're not anything special. But he is a single target alt for 600%. And if we look at any other single target free-to-play character, they do not have 600%. Like this Ch29 right here, she has single target 470%, and then like an extra little tidbit of stuff right here. Alphen does not have that. He just has an extra 130% tacked on to his alt multiplier, which is already significant because 600% is what you're getting out of a like AoE DPS for EX Unbound, right? She's got a dupe in her, like that doesn't count, but she would be at like 300, and then 600% would be her EX ult. Alphen is just at 600% base level. And then he's got his personal buff, which is actually only 30 points. So during the dev live stream, their information panel had him at 30, but their beatdown battle had him at 90 points on turn 1. Looks like the beatdown battle example was wrong. So he costs 30 points to give himself a further 200% alt damage buff. It's only him, but it's 200%, which means that he's going to do some good damage. And then he also has the personal orb change to oranges, so he can change 3 of his own orbs to orange, and then he converts 2 fire characters' alts into oranges as well, which means that him and Ch29 will be just fine. So let's check him out. His Valor trait and his trait up here, crit damage, okay, sure, whatever. Not super duper important, although the crit damage one could be okay if he's in a support slot, but that's up to you if you want to put a free-to-play character in a support slot. But let's go ahead and test him out. Alright, we're going to run him on kind of the try-hard team. Blanc, Violet, Wielder of Magic, Hinata for the future hand and the element buff, Ch29, and then Alphen himself. So this is an AoE beatdown battle, but Alphen is single target, so like you're already kind of at a disadvantage. But if there are other fights, and there certainly are that we'll try them out today, where you need a single target fire damaging unit, then Alphen will actually be a decent choice for you if you don't have a good single target one. And to be honest, fire is kind of down in the dumps right now. Like if you have an EX Unbound Violet, like that'll work certainly. But if you don't have her, single target fires, like you get what, Summer Shizu, and then Megamine if you're lucky enough to have her, and then who else? Man, I can't even think right now. I don't know. Idol Shuna, like ooh, whoop-de-doo. But there is Alphen converting 3 of his own orbs to oranges, so he only converts his own. He doesn't change anybody else's, which does limit his viability a little bit, because obviously you would prefer him to change 3 oranges of any type, but they didn't give it to him. And they also tacked on that alt swap, so here, what we can do is actually, we can kind of get away with it. We do have a lot of orbs for Alphen, so, okay, there's the nerf, that's fine, and then he's got 1, 2, 3 orbs here plus his alt. If we use his skill again, he's going to change those 3, and he's going to swap his own alt into an orange, that way we have 5. And look at that. And then we could bring in maybe Blanc for Ch29, and then use the extra skill points. And let's see. Let's do the future hand of orange skill now and just kind of get that started. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 51 points coming back. All right, yep, love the counters. Thank you very much. But he is just going to be your dedicated orb changer, who, because you're probably going to have him up front quite a bit, is going to put up decent numbers. Now, he can't actually do an EX ult like he's showing here. He can use one bar of it to ult right now, and then still have another one for the next turn, if that's what you want to do. And maybe you do, maybe you don't, I don't really know. But let's go ahead and take him out now for, yeah, Xion, since she's not going to have any orbs. And then we'll take out Hinata for Blanc, 68 points, yeah. Alright, we're going to have to do some funky things here. This wasn't really the greatest start. I should have used the rainbow skill on turn 1. Oh well. Details. I'm trying to show off Alphen right now. So let's take you out. We got a full hand of Primal Demon, so let's go ahead and convert. And yeah, we wouldn't have enough to do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Violet is going to have an ult, and she is a fire character, which means that Alphen will be able to swap not only his ult, but Violet's ult next turn as well, and then we don't really have to worry about it. Xion just not getting any orbs, and she's stunned anyways, so okay, cool. Alright, so let's take... Ooh, actually, let's do another rainbow. Let's do some control stacks. Boom, boom. And then we can take Blanc out of here, which is going to turn into an Alphen orb anyways. Yeah, and then let's ult swap the 2 fire units, perfect. And then that means we get a full hand because we have 4 rainbows and 2 oranges. I need to turn this animation stuff off. And then we can probably bring in Hinata for Violet. Yeah, and then use her Future Hand of Orange skill. That way we just don't have to worry about orbs next turn. Alright, and then another stack. So there's Alphen's viability throughout the majority of the fight is going to be your orb changer and your ult swapping character. Only for fire units. If he was the only fire unit here, or if Xion was here, then he would only change those 2. But we've brought a couple, so we can kind of get away with it. Alright, there's a taunt. Cool. And then I think we'll cut ahead to turn 8 when we're ready to nuke, and then we can see his damage potential. Alright, we are back on turn 8. We have the EX ult for Xion. We've got the control stacks active. Alphen has had his ult for a long time. We've got one more stack of Rimuru to burn out. So let's go ahead and bring our 2 other characters into buff. So we've got Hinata for the 50% elemental buff right here for 40 points. If she was skill fused, we would also get weakness strike, but I haven't skill fused her yet. I'm waiting to see what the other characters are. And then we'll bring Blanc in, and then we can use the crit, we can use the damage buff, and then we can use Alphen's personal ult damage buff. Which means that the stacks of ult damage we're getting from Protector Rimuru are going to coincide and work with his temporary buff. So we've got a Barrier Stone, okay, cool. We've got 210% ult damage, that's from Rimuru stacks. And then we have a 200% ult damage here from Alphen's skills. So essentially, we have 410% ult damage, plus another 15 from a Barrier Stone, which may or may not always be active. So that's quite a bit, and a 600% just base multiplier. And then Alphen himself, from all the stacks, has, okay, attack, weakness strike, okay, cool. We got a lot of Barrier Stones going. Magic attack damage, again, stacks from Rimuru. Weakness strike from the control stuff, the trait going on from, I think, Rimuru, and then crit damage from his own trait, the 50% elemental buff, so we're fire right here. We've got guaranteed crit damage, and then the magic attack damage, and then the debuffs on that side. So Alphen will do fairly reasonable damage, even compared to the Xion, even though Xion is an EX character and Alphen is free to play. So let's go ahead and send Alphen first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's watch his ult. It is very reminiscent of his combo move in Tales of Arise. Scarlet Inferno, or Scarlet Outburst. Scarlet Outburst, there we go. And he does 30 million damage as a free-to-play character. Like, that's really, really good. Really good for a free-to-play. We've never had a free-to-play character hit anywhere close to that. Maybe a couple million with, like, Misery during Primal Demon or something. But we generally do not rely on free-to-plays to be damaging units. And this Xion, with all the buffs, 35 million. So only 5 million off of a 1 dupe EX Unbound character as a free-to-play unit? Like, that's really, really good. He will serve your needs if you need a single-target fire alt character, which is great. Maybe his skill set isn't super universal for a lot of other teams, but he is like a faux DPS character, which means you would probably build a team around him, or have him be a sub-DPS, which he certainly was right here. So that's really good. Alright, so next we're going to go into Tempered Edge versus Clayman, and we're going to make Alphen our single-target DPS versus a single-target fight, and this will go very, very well. We're going to run Exalted Champion Velzard now, because she is buffing magic characters, which means Alphen gets a little bit extra. We've got support Visions of Koli's Violet, and Summer Shizu for more damage, and then Isis and Benimaru as orb changers and the green buffing character. And so, if you perhaps don't have a solid single target fire unit, which honestly there are not a lot of, because the last one that we got dedicated was Ogre's Pride Shuna, because Cleash is free to play, Violet's AoE, Shizu's free to play, Xion is free to play, Violet is the Warrior's Mind Violet is a support alt. So we have what? Shuna, and then Tempest Delete Rimuru. Those are the most recent DPS fire single target characters, and that's going back quite a ways. So we definitely needed one. And the fact that everyone can get this, at least right now, is fantastic, because he can fit a role that you need him to. So we'll bring Alphen in for Isis. Since we're not having a crit unit, we don't really care about the crit nerf at all. And then we'll take Violet out of here since she's type disadvantage. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And as long as we can get the points to do a full nuke here, with the Alphen buff and the Velzard buff, the Shizu, and the Violet, this Clayman's gonna die. It's not the greatest team in the world. It's not a super try-hard team, but I'm not really meaning... Okay, come on. Not really meaning for it to be a super try-hard team. Can we please get orbs for him? Let me just send these Shizus. I guess it really doesn't matter, does it? Alright, come on. Let's get you in here for Shizu. Alright, and use the green buff. Really gotta make this difficult, huh? We're just not gonna get Alphen orbs. For whatever reason. I'm trying to do a showcase here, and the game is like, oh, where are you now? Alright, we're going to turn this off since we don't need to watch these animations anymore. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we just need like 2 more orbs for him, and we'll be okay. Alright, cheeky counter. But he does fill a niche. A niche of the fact that we needed... Okay, that's fine. We can work with that. That we needed more single-target fire characters. Now, don't take this the wrong way. I don't want every free-to-play character to be a DPS character, because then you're really going to limit their viability in future content as far as being generic orb changers or something, because this Alphen doesn't go on every single team. Like, he can orb change his own to oranges, fine, and he can alt-swap fire, which if you're not running a fire team, he's not really doing much for you. And if you're not running an orange team, he's really not doing much for you, because he is a damage unit after that. And his other skill means nothing. So, you do have to build a team for him. But if you do, because you need that single target, and you don't have an EX Unbound Violet, or you don't have Ogre's Pride Shuna or something, then yeah, he's going to work really, really well. And in this context of this meta, and the tales of COLLAB in general, Alphen is the main character. He's fire. He's meant to do damage within the actual show game itself. And it does make sense. So, let's see what he does here with the magic in this 877. Okay. Is that super great damage? No, that's not the 30 million damage we just saw him do. But it is enough to clear this fight. And that's the most important thing. And he's free. And he's cheap, right? 200 points. Sorry. 200% alt damage for 30 points is not something to be trifled with for especially a free-to-play option, when if you look in recent memory, we got friggin' Gazel, Divine General, with a 90-point skill that is weakness, resistance, and element down. And then we got Gobwa 6 months later, who's doing it for 15 points. Meanwhile, I mean, Gazel is doing it AoE, but, you know, free to play 15 points, or free to play 90 points versus free to play 30 points. Doing two separate things, yes, but which one is more impactful, do you think? I think Alphen. Alright, final clip, we're going to go into another single target fight. This is Story Chapter 29 versus Father Middray, who is Earth, and does have a decent amount of HP, 869k. So, let's see how well Alphen can do as our dedicated DPS character. We've got the Spirit Master Masked Hero, we've got Violet again for the magic buff and the orb changing, we've got the free-to-play Water Rimuru for orb changing, we've got the Blanc for the alt swap and the weakness strike. The synergy resistance down is going to matter because we've brought Divine General Diablo for synergy and synergy power. So, you know, this team, in theory, should work, but, you know, let's see how well, in theory, goes to real life. Alright, so we got a good starting hand. We can just use Violet to orb change, and we can get our double stack of hero on turn 2. But, I mean, this team is just going to exemplify how necessary it was for us to get another single target fire character. Regardless of if it's an EX unit, premium, summonable or not, it's actually better that he's free to play, because again, fire has been not super duper useful in terms of just raw damage output for a decent amount of time. Because Warrior's Mind Violet is a support alt. She's got great utility, but she's not outputting millions upon millions of damage as like Blanc is, right? She can do a couple million damage when properly buffed up, but that's not her primary job. So, the fact that Alphen is free to play, accessible to everybody right now, and an option for you is just great. But again, I don't want every single free to play character to be a DPS now. I want that kind of balanced utility between free-to-play character who does orb changing and who is just support, and then maybe once in a while for the elements that are really down in the dumps, like maybe give them a free-to-play DPS unit in the future. Water, wind, they need one, especially if you don't have like Wind Lumi from Tournament Stalwart. Wind could definitely use some help. But with this team, we have quite a bit of support. Some of them old, some of them new, and then Water Rimuru isn't doing anything except orb changing. So the stacks of magic attack we're getting from the Masked Hero, the synergy buff from Diablo, the weakness strike and synergy resistance down from Blanc, and then just the straight up extra magic buff from Violet means that Alphen, with his 200% alt damage, can do decent damage here, and we don't need to go that far. Middray has 850 something thousand HP, and as long as we can guarantee that, we're going to be okay, and I will guarantee you that we will do more damage than that with this team. We have a bit too many buffs for even a free-to-play unit not to kill. We have a lot of 90-point skills here that are going to help us do a lot more. So we're doing 9,500 a hit through his guard, 20k through his guard, so it should have been 40k right there, because it is just a 50% damage cut. And so now, on turn 5, like, we've got enough points to nuke. Like, we can just do it now. We don't have to go to turn 8. So, if you're really unconfident, you could go to turn 8 if you wanted to, but let's use the magic buff, and then we'll bring Diablo in, and then we'll use the Diablo buff, the Blanc buff, and the personal buff, and then we've got 2 stacks of the hero to use. 1 stack? 1 stack of the hero. Perfect. And then kind of we'll take a look at Alphen's buffs on turn 5. So he's got weakness strike from Barrier Stone, more importantly magic attack 100, synergy power 100, weakness strike 100, cool. His alt is 200 plus the 15 barrier skill, and then we have the synergy down on Middray. Let's send some orbs first. So 82k, 156 through the guard, and then Alphen does 2.8 million damage. Which is, again, great. Yeah. I mean, Blanc and Violet, characters you may or may not have. Diablo, maybe a bit more out of range, but Water Rimuru is free to play. Alphen is free to play. The Masked Hero was the 3.5 Anniversary Protector, which I assume a lot of people have. And yeah, Alphen can work. So, overall, I am fairly pleased with him. I do recognize that he's not going to be super duper useful outside of having a team built around him, as most DPS characters are. So he will falter in a few ways, but he does open an option for you, and for all players, because he is, again, the free unit. So let me know what you guys think of this Alphen. Do you believe that he is as useful as I believe he is, or do you think I'm overplaying him a bit? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, but that's it for me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.